Hey guys, back with another time lapse, and I've decided moving forward that I'm going to focus on one relevant topic or question that's been sent my way that I can show an example with in the time lapse. So for this time lapse, I want to talk about where I get my inspiration. So for this particular piece, I had been at work just looking for some 3D animation videos, just seeing what's new in the industry, as that is my day job, and I follow a channel called Wine After Coffee. And one of the newer videos that had been uploaded that day had a shot of a beach with a really pretty sunspot on the sand. I think you'll see a pretty obvious correlation between that shot that I'm going to put on the screen and the final of this piece. So what I liked about this shot was the color palette, for one, super muted, but it makes the sunspot look super glowy, and then kind of the desolate but calm feel that that shot gave. So that's what I wanted to replicate in this illustration, and then in the coming year I'm really going to be focusing on my human characters. So I mainly just wanted to draw a dragon just for fun, but I threw in a human just to get that practice in and create kind of a story. So the point I'm trying to make is you need to get your inspiration from a variety of sources. I think it's fine to look at other illustrators and other 2D artists if you're trying to learn something specific, but having variety in the sources you get your inspiration from is going to make your work more unique. So I feel like a lot of other illustrators are probably not looking at 3D animation or motion design. I'm sure there are some, but the vast majority are probably not. So that's a super unique source that I'm looking at that can inspire my work. And the part of that shot that inspired me wasn't even the 3D animation aspect of it. It was the style and the color palette. So the artist of that video has a completely different knowledge base, and they're probably getting their inspiration from completely different sources from me. So you can see how that loop kind of just makes more unique work as a result. And some other places I get my inspiration are from fictional books, fantasy books, science fiction books, and it's more of the themes that they're talking about, or maybe the main characters and the values and personality of those characters that are inspiring things. It's not necessarily like, oh, this character is on a spaceship and now I want to draw a spaceship. So going back to the topic of getting better at humans, I've been looking at a lot of anime series that I've been watching, and typically anime characters have way more dramatic expressions than what I'm used to drawing, but it's been helpful to reference those when I'm drawing kids to push myself to give more variety and drama to their expressions and more emphasis to the expressions that I like in the anime characters I'm looking at. Some other places are live action movies, animated movies, and finally going out and experiencing things, trying new things, and meeting new people. I do not have any children, and there are not really any young children in my family that I interact with often. So I do ride horses, and typically there's a ton of young kids at the barn on the weekends. So it is helpful for me to just kind of observe how they move, how they interact with their friends, how they interact with the horses, and that just gives me a unique perspective when I'm drawing my characters and helps me inform my designs on what I appreciate most about kids and their designs. And finally, I think it's important to note that it's great to seek out inspiration, but ultimately you are going to have to explore what your interests are in your own art. And I think this piece is a good example because I don't think it's finished. I think it's 85 to 90% finished. And the reason I didn't fully flesh it out is because I got what I wanted from it, which was messing with scale, replicating that lighting I saw in this still, and then exploring the relationship between the dragon and the girl and getting her body language to kind of represent an emotion. And I did all of that. As far as the struggles that were left, specifically exploring this scale. I almost felt like I made them bigger than the characters, bigger than I wanted, and it wasn't giving that huge contrast of like little people in a huge environment. But that's because I wanted to put detail on the characters. Like, I wanted to flesh out the dragon and put spikes on it and have, you know, the facial features of the girls somewhat obvious. So that's something I'm going to have to explore more in future pieces, is what's most important to me and what am I willing to sacrifice if I want to explore more dramatic compositions. And finally, I just felt like the water was too rough and too loose, like it doesn't look finished to me. But I haven't drawn oceans often, or maybe ever, and it just felt like I was looking at reference photos and trying to copy them rather than stylizing them and kind of emphasizing the things I like about the beach or the ocean in a stormy environment. So I just wasn't willing to try and finesse the ocean to the point where I felt comfortable being like, oh, this is a portfolio piece, this is done. I think I've mentioned it in other videos, but environments are not the most enjoyable thing for me to draw, so once I had the beach and the water at a good spot, I had a ton of empty space and I just didn't think it was interesting enough, so I added this seagrass and I thought about adding rocks or things in the distance in the ocean, but it just wasn't enjoyable for me and I wasn't trying to make a portfolio piece with this. Not to say that I can't go back and finish this since it is mostly done. But that's just food for thought. Not every piece has to be a portfolio piece. It's okay to explore and be okay with an 80% done piece. Some things I'm not really happy with are the girl. I don't love her outfit. It's kind of like I was just trying to find colors that would stand out enough against the dragon and the sand, but it doesn't really tell you anything about her as a character. And I was struggling with the fact that she could have been in a dress, which I felt like would have been more interesting because you might think she's a princess or from an older time, kind of inform you about the time period, but then she looked like a blob because you couldn't see her legs. And anyway, like I said, could go back and change this, but I am happy with how it turned out overall. Learned some things about drawing the ocean and the beach. I particularly like that area where the sand looks wet, but not like water is actively flowing on top of it. And I like the clouds and the lighting, so you learn something from every piece you do. So my advice, get your pieces to 85% done. If you're not having fun, start something new. Make sure you get your inspiration from a variety of sources. It'll help you make your art look more unique. And thanks for watching this far. Please like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!